Chapter 15. Into the Wild Once Again. The morning sun beamed down upon the fields and forests of Hyrule as flocks of birds flew through the sky, chirping with glee as they prepared to start their early hunt. Amid their chirps was the rustling of swaying grass and tree leaves, the occasional rustle of a bush as deer emerged to graze, or a creak of a branch as squirrels darted from their homes in search of acorns. Even the gentle, low whistle of the breeze could be heard as it blew through the forests, buffeting the thin white birch trees that filled the landscape. It was a beautiful ambience, only disturbed by the echoing set of heavy Hylian footsteps, along with one's endless chatter. The steps belonged to a woman, a golden-haired princess who wore a fancy, bright blue traveling tunic and form-fitting black trousers. She was holding a rectangular relic in her hand, looking down at its illuminated surface as she inspected the map on display.
From here, we'll make our way to Goron City. Then we'll need some adjustments on that divine beast so Daruk can manage it as easily as possible.
As she continued to ramble, the other traveler simply followed behind her, keeping a few respectable paces between them. He listened quietly, his face stoic and his posture stiff, the only sound coming from him being the light clanking of the purple-winged sword in its gold and blue sheath. Though he wore a similarly colored tunic, a sign he was partnered with the one in front of him, they couldn't have seemed more different and distant. Not receiving an answer from the silent one behind her, the princess continued, now swiping her finger across the stone slate's smooth surface, looking through the other glowing images it offered.
He's figured out how to get it to move. However, it's apparent that we still have much more to learn. But to think, that divine beast was actually built by people.
Still walking, she paused and glanced back at him, meeting his expressionless eyes. No response came. Was he actually listening at all? Were his eyes glazed over, or is that simply how they look? Trying to conceal her annoyance, she faced forward again, unknowingly picking her pace up just a bit as she continued on.
That means we should be able to understand how it works and how to use it to our advantage. These divine beasts. So much we don't know. But if we want to turn back the Calamity Ganon, they're our best hope.
Again, the swordsman had nothing to say. With a deep breath, the princess lowered the ancient device in her hands and came to a stop. She could hear the footsteps behind her stop as well. And without looking back at him, she spoke again.
Tell me the truth. How proficient are you right now, wielding that sword on your back?
She attempted to glance back at him once more, and she was again met with the same stoic face.
Legend says that an ancient voice resonates inside it. Can you hear it yet, hero?
A long pause echoed as the breeze blew between them. The knight simply stared back at her, his lips still tightly closed, refusing to part. Furrowing her brow, the princess huffed and turned away.
Never mind. Don't bother answering if that's how you'll be. I don't know why I even bothered.
As she marched away, the hero stood still for a moment, glancing back at the sword, waiting as if to see if it would say something to him. When no words came, he closed his eyes for a moment before following in the princess's steps. Link hummed in thought as he slightly bounced in his saddle, trusting Epona to follow the path on her own. He could remember the day he and Zelda had started off on one of their early adventures a century ago, heading toward Death Mountain in order to check on Daruk's divine beast. His and Zelda's relationship was so different back then, so much so it was almost strange to think back to. And yet, he could remember it so vividly. In fact, it was oddly clear, as if he could remember more details than before. And this wasn't the first memory this had happened for, either. For the past month, ever since Zelda returned, now that he had thought about it, he had noticed his memories getting clearer. They weren't perfect, but it was as if the holes were being filled. Or rather, he could remember more of the events before or afterward. Even finer details and older conversations were a little easier to recall. Was it because Zelda was now with him? It was her pictures of places that brought his memory back before, so was having the photographer herself around him helping even more? He had accepted a long time ago that his complete memory may never return, and that was something he was all right with. But remembering the time he spent with Zelda in better detail was something he definitely preferred.
Oi! Hey there!
The sudden call prompted Link to look ahead, where he could see his destination coming into view. a large, tent-like building with a tall, wooden statue of a horse head built on top of its roof. Sitting at the front desk between the two open entrances was a person dressed in the familiar orange and tan colors of the place, a sign they were an employee of the establishment. As soon as the mare was guided to a stop at the front desk, the man behind it gave a greeting, watching as Link climbed down from the saddle.
Well, look who it is. Welcome back to the Dueling Peak stable, Link. It's good to finally see you again.
You as well, Tasseren. It's good to see one of my favorite Stablемasters.
You probably say that to every stable master who takes care of you. It's been a while since you've come for a proper visit here. Last time I saw you, you rode right past us. It looked like you were heading towards Kakariko, and if I saw correctly, it looked like you had a woman with you.
Yeah, I know what you're about to say. We're just friends, nothing more. Promise.
If you're getting asked so often that you have a response at the ready like that, then there's clearly something going on.
Laughing, the stablemaster turned toward the tent's interior.
Oi, Rensa! Our Link here finally found himself a woman.
Tasseren.
Link sighed as he placed his elbows on the desk and covered his eyes with his hand. Unfortunately for him, another worker hurried forward, wearing the same outfit as the stablemaster. He looked exactly the same as the man behind the counter. They were twins of the same stable.
Link found himself a lover? I never thought I'd see the day.
The man named Rensa gave Link a cheery pat on the back.
Guys, please. I really gotta start heading back, so
Did I hear Link's name?
That time it was a woman's voice from inside the stable house. The voice's owner walked outside to see if what she had heard was correct. She was a traveler, with dark brown hair that was tied in the back with her bangs hanging free and her skin tanned from all the time she spent in the sun. Her dark green tunic was accented with leather padding, though her legs only had a pair of shorts and knee-high boots. She wore a large pack on her back, with a shield hanging off the side, and a sword on her belt behind her back. Upon seeing that Link was indeed there at the stable, she smiled brightly and hurried to the front desk.
It really is you! Wow, I can't believe I found you so quickly.
Celessa? Hey, were you looking for me?
I was told I might find you in Hateno village. I'm glad I ran into you here, though. That saves me a trip. I have something for you.
For me?
The traveler nodded, taking her backpack off to place on the ground and search through its contents. Though he was curious, he patiently waited and turned toward the stablemaster.
I actually need to take another horse out. The white one I caught not too long ago.
You want to board Epona? Honestly, with how close you two are, I never thought I'd see you ride another horse.
I actually don't plan to board Epona. This new horse isn't for me to ride. It's for her.
Just as he expected, the stable brothers began to laugh.
Oh, there isn't any convincing us now. Our best patron really done found himself the one.
Guys, come on. Can you bring him out? I need to start heading back. We've got travel plans.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Tasseren winked. Ignoring Link's grumble, he turned to his brother.
Go get Storm out for the boy. Or I guess it would be actually for his lady. You got it, boss.
Rensa patted the desk surface gleefully before disappearing around the building, still calling loudly as he vanished.
Storm is coming right out for the little lady.
Shaking his head, Link glanced back down at Celessa, who was still digging through her bag.
So, do you have something for me?
I do. I just placed it somewhere in here. It seemed important, so I didn't want to lose it. Aha! Here it is.
From out of her bag, she pulled a folded piece of parchment. Standing proudly, she held it out for Link to take.
I was given this while I was visiting Zora's domain.
Taking the letter from her, Link looked down at its folded front before opening it. Curiously, it had his name scribbled on the front.
What were you doing in Zora's domain? I don't think I've ever seen you up there.
I was trying to speak to the king and prince of the Zora. You know I'm always trying to learn about Princess Zelda. And all the Zora were alive while she was. She would visit the domain often to speak with Lady Mipha, their princess and the Zora champion. So I was hoping maybe they'd be willing to tell me more about her.
Uh-huh. Right, you love learning about the princess.
Though Link was only half listening, having begun reading the note's contents, Celessa continued to ramble on, seemingly unbothered by his lack of attention as she casually placed her hands on her hips in disappointment at her own tale.
Unfortunately, they weren't too keen on letting some random Hylian speak to the king or the prince all of a sudden. I heard they had a lot going on with that rainfall a few months ago, but didn't that clear up? I just wanted to get some more details about Princess Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, even though they turned me away, they asked if I happened to know a guy named Link. Honestly, it's kind of rude to assume every Hylian knows each other, but they were right this time, so I figured I'd deliver that to you for them. I know my way to Hateno since I stop by there every now and then, and you saved me a few times while on the road. So, might as well do you a favor at the very least.
Finally reaching the end of the note's contents, Link folded the piece of parchment back up.
Yeah, thanks for doing that. It's a good thing you did. This is important.
Well, look at me helping you out for once.
And I appreciate it.
Here we are.
Both turned to see the stablemaster's brother reappearing from the side of the stable, guiding a large, white-coated stallion by the reins.
Storm is ready to go for you, Link.
Thanks, Rensa.
If you and your lady friend ever need a place to stay on your travels, you know where to find us. I'd sure love to meet her, Link.
Oh? A lady friend, you say?
Rolling his eyes, Link simply took the reins and began guiding Storm toward Epona. Laughing, the stable workers called out their goodbyes and best wishes, though Celessa chose to follow him after picking up her bag.
You didn't tell me you'd found someone special while on the road?
I technically didn't meet her on the road, and she's just a companion. A good friend. But that's all there is, I think.
You think, huh?
Celessa...
Tiredly reaching his mare, Link began to climb into the saddle, but before he could continue, Celessa had already raised her hands up in surrender.
Fine. Don't tell me. I'm sure to meet her at some point if you two live in Hateno.
Are you still headed there now that you found me?
As Link reached over the saddle to grab Storm's reins again, Celessa shook her head.
Nah, I may head to Akala soon. I wanted to talk with the researcher that lives up there. The Zora wouldn't speak with me, but maybe he will. Will you be alright guiding 2 horses all the way to Hateno?
I'll be just fine. Thank you again for delivering that letter to me, Celessa. You have a good trip.
You too!
With a light tap on Epona's side, the mare began to walk, but before she could get far, Celessa called out to him again.
Hey, Link!
Tugging lightly at both her reins and Storm's, he twisted in the saddle to look back at her.
Did you know you share a name with the appointed knight the princess used to travel with?
Link laughed.
Yeah, I did. It's pretty neat, isn't it?
It sure is! Safe travels, Link!
Still chuckling, he tapped Epona's side again, beginning his trek back to Hateno village.
Physical features, while slightly improved due to physical training, are not a significant sign. Height and weight have remained the same. Mental seems relatively the same, save for a few scares from a few days ago. In conclusion, the sealing powers are still elusive.
After a few more scribbles in her notebook, the little director of the Hateno Tech Lab snapped it shut and placed it on the table beside her.
As for right now, there isn't anything further to test. At least nothing I can do in a reasonable time frame, that is. Despite your powers being absent, you're healthy, but they don't seem to be returning anytime soon.
I see.
Zelda glanced down at the back of her hand and thought. She had been sitting in a chair for the last few hours, except for the times she was asked to do a quick physical test. Despite every test the little girl had given her, nothing had worked. The sealing powers still wouldn't respond to her. Curious, Purah tapped her pen against the front of her notebook, observing Zelda from the stool she stood on.
You don't seem too bothered by that. Honestly, I found it interesting you would ask me to do these tests in the first place.
Zelda lowered her hand into her lap, but her eyes remained on the back of her hand.
Honestly speaking, I knew deep down they hadn't returned. I simply felt it was my due diligence to properly check. As proper a check as I can get in this era.
You might have been better off asking my sister if you wanted a better check. While I find your powers fascinating and would love to research them deeper, a scientific mindset clashes against what's supposed to be a spiritual one.
You're right, and I do understand that, but if I were to go to Impa, I have a strong idea of what she'd have me do if I really meant to attempt to draw my powers out once more, and I don't think I'm ready for that just yet.
Purah hummed, adjusting her large, red-rimmed spectacles.
I suppose that's an expected reaction coming from you. I can imagine you still have quite the difficult relationship with the goddess.
That's one way to word it.
With such spite, why try to use your powers again at all?
I wouldn't call it spite, but regardless of how difficult my relationship with the goddess is, it's still my duty to try and use the powers I was gifted. They could be useful for whatever's to come on this journey, even if they aren't something I plan to rely on. It was worth checking.
I see. A logical answer. One I believe is the correct one. You are right, though. If you really need to check and see if you can still use those powers of yours, you'll need to test your luck with the goddess once more. As much as I'd hate to see you force yourself to sit in front of one of those statues again.
I know, and one day I will. Maybe. But until then, I'll need to rely on my own strength and hope it never comes to that. I'm not sure I could handle such a prayer again, either.
Speaking of this upcoming adventure, you're absolutely sure you believe you're prepared for what's ahead of you? I took your side and advocated for you to travel alongside Link, but he is right. Hyrule is a far more dangerous place than it used to be. Are you sure you're up for this?
I have to be, Purah. I need to be out there discovering what it is the Shaker Slate wants from Link and why there still remains malice after my seal. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, but I have faith Link will protect me. His training was effective, so if necessary, I can get away. I'm as prepared as I'll ever be in such a short time span.
As long as you're sure.
The little researcher pointed her pen at Zelda's nose.
Don't make me look foolish for pushing Linky to take you along. He'll never listen to me again if something happens to you.
I understand. I won't let you down. Besides, as much as I don't like the thought, if something were to happen to Link instead, there's always the possibility my powers could activate and save him again. If an event like that is to come to pass, I will save him before he finds himself in such critical condition again. I'm ready for this, physically and mentally. I promise.
Okay then. I believe you two will discover what's going on with Hyrule in a snap.
Just as the little girl snapped her fingers, the door to the tech lab suddenly bursted open, allowing Purah's assistant inside.
Director, Miss Zelda, Link is on his way back from Dueling Peaks. I saw him coming back up the mountain through the telescope.
Fantastic work giving us such a snappity heads up, Symin. That means it's time you took your leave, Zelda.
It is. Sorry to ask you both to keep this a secret from Link. I know he would worry if he knew the powers were still on my mind, especially with how my first night on the Great Plateau went. I feel guilty hiding something from him, but I can't have him worrying so much about me during our travels.
Whatever you say, we allowed Link to come to terms with you traveling with him at his own pace, so it's only fair we do the same for you. But just make sure you do talk with him if it starts to affect you. He'll notice if something's wrong, and that'll only make him worry more.
I will, I promise.
Standing, she brought her hands together in front of her and bowed.
Thank you for all your help, Purah, and you as well, Symin. We'll always be grateful for the help you give us.
Anytime. Just come on up to the lab whenever you need help. And make sure you have rupees. And that it's not a waste of time.
Director Purah.
Hey! I told Linky the same thing. Life does not completely revolve around these two, even if most of it sort of does, admittedly. We have our own research to fund.
But saying it in such a callous way.
It wasn't callous.
Shaking his head, he turned to Zelda, ignoring his director's words.
Don't be afraid to come to us with anything you need. We will help you regardless, despite what the director here claims.
Thank you, Symin. I appreciate your support.
Okay, time's up. I believe my traitor of an assistant here said Linky was on his way back. So you're running out of time. Get out of here unless you want him asking questions.
You're right. Farewell to you both, and we'll see you again soon.
After another quick bow, she hurried to the door and disappeared outside. Once the door was closed behind her, Symin frowned.
Are you sure those two will be all right?
Twirling her pen between her fingers, Purah nodded.
They'll be fine. They have to be. Otherwise, who knows what'll happen? All we can do is keep up with our research here in the lab, help them when they need it, and hope for the best.
Are you sure it's all right for me to purchase your entire stock?
Zelda was in a small but spacious shop, with shelves displaying the store's inventory of fruits, vegetables, bottles of milk, and even bundles of arrows lining the walls. In fact, it was the arrows Zelda had taken a keen interest in, running her fingers across the thin wood of the arrow's shafts before taking one of the bundles into her arms.
All of these were just made today, yes? I'd hate for you to have to make another bundle so soon after putting them out.
The shopkeeper behind the counter chuckled.
I appreciate the sentiment, but nothing would make me happier.
He was an older fellow, and though he was not quite old enough for his hair to have gone gray, it had begun to recede, making his already scrunched-up face look even smaller and his round forehead look even larger. With such a scrunched face, he almost gave off a rude appearance, but that had thankfully been offset by his warm smile, one that could melt even the coldest of hearts.
It's always a good feeling to know the products I make are so good, they sell out instantly. Besides, Link buys them all the time. I assume you're heading off into the wilderness with him if you're buying all those?
You'd be right.
Then it's the same outcome. If it isn't you, then I'm sure Link will appear in the next few days or so to buy them out himself. I might as well make them specifically for him at this point, which I don't mind. I'm glad to be of help to him and make a nice batch of rupees while I'm at it.
If that's the case, then I suppose I shouldn't feel too guilty taking them all.
Committing to her decision, she gathered the rest of the arrow bundles into her arms and approached the counter.
Not at all. That's 3 bundles of 5 arrows, yeah? All that'll run you a total of 60 rupees.
After placing the arrows down in front of the shopkeeper, Zelda reached into one of her back pockets and pulled out 3 red gems. Placing them in his palm, the shopkeeper nodded.
You're set to go.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Bruce. You're always so helpful whenever Link or I visit. I do appreciate it.
Anytime, Marin, anytime. And you know I keep telling you just Bruce is fine with me. Now you stay safe out there with Link, you got that?
I will. Thank you again.
After giving the shopkeeper a small bow, Zelda took the bundles of arrows into her arms and turned toward the shop's front door.
Farewell.
Bruce waved in
You two
response
take
as his
care
customer
now.
disappeared out
See
of his
you
shop
next
and into
time.
the village of Hateno, where the sky had already become a vibrant gold as the sun was starting to dip below the mountains in the distance. As the door clicked behind her, Zelda headed toward the fork in the road near the village gate, counting up the arrows she had just purchased.
13, 14, 15. I doubt this will be enough to split between the two of us. We'll have to find more to purchase on our journey. Would stables sell arrows?
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but they don't. We'll have to get arrows from a proper shop in another town.
Turning on her heel, Zelda looked behind her and locked eyes with a pair of familiar blue ones. Link, who had entered Hateno from under the gate with a set of reins in each hand, smiled.
Did I startle you? You're going to need to be more aware of your surroundings if you plan to head into the wild with me tomorrow.
Zelda raised an eyebrow.
Do I look startled to you? I could hear Epona's hooves from a mile away. Believe me, after the trials you gave me, I'm much more aware of my surroundings now. More than I'd like to admit.
Good. That's how it's supposed to be. I'm not the only one who'll be trying to sneak up behind you out there.
So you've said many times before. There are the monsters, the Yiga, and maybe even the occasional boar.
A grin began to spread when she saw Link's smile falter at the memory of his hunting trip a few weeks ago. Deciding to claim her victory before he could come up with a counter, she glanced at the white stallion standing on Link's opposite side of Epona.
And who might this be?
This is Storm. I was told by an old stablehand this horse might be a descendant of the royal family's horses from a century ago due to its pure white coat and mane. Maybe you'll be able to tell if that's true.
It's certainly a possibility. He's a mirror image of my old steed.
I was also told by the same guy that his grandfather actually did find your old horse out there after the calamity.
As much as I'd like to believe that, the odds of that happening are extremely low.
At the memory, Zelda's smile started to fade.
I'm positive my horse perished alongside everything else in Hyrule Field when the calamity struck. It's a nice thought, but I simply can't imagine it to be true.
Well, maybe this will change your mind.
He held the white stallion's reins out for Zelda to take, who hesitated when the horse snorted.
He won't bite. I trained him myself.
Trusting his word, Zelda took the reins from his grasp. Letting go of Epona's reins, knowing she wouldn't move without being prompted, he took the Sheikah slate from his hip, and after a few taps and a flash of blue light, a bridle appeared in his hands. Despite being old and faded, Zelda could make out the vibrant purple leathers and gold accents, with shiny shield-shaped ornaments of the same colors clattering as they hung from their rivets.
My horse's bridle, but how?
That same stablehand gave it to me. His grandfather took it off your horse when he found it in Hyrule Field all those years ago, and I guess he decided to keep it.
Incredible.
Zelda looked back at the white stallion in front of her.
So he really did manage to survive.
Taking a risk, she released the reins and slowly raised a hand up to the horse's muzzle. And though it snorted once more, it did allow her to gently touch. Nostalgically, she lightly stroked his white coat.
That old horse and I were just starting to get along right before the calamity. I'm glad he managed to live a full life.
Only he could have descendants with a coat like that. This guy here will be your horse going forward.
You say that, but it seems as though he's only tolerating me.
You'll earn his trust with time. I've already taught you how, haven't I?
Be sure to take the time to soothe your mount. That's the only way it will know how you truly feel. Can't you see I'm taking your advice to heart just as I did before? It's just a little sad that I've returned to square one is all.
I wouldn't say you're at square one. You're already starting off much better with this horse than with his ancestor. You gave that horse quite a hard time.
You speak as though he was completely innocent.
Unfortunately, Zelda's outburst caused the horse to jerk away from her with a grunt. She stepped away in fear of retaliation, only realizing she was safe when Link's laughter echoed. When calmed, Link tilted his head toward the fork in the road.
Let's take him and Epona back to the house. We can board them together for the night.
He began to walk, followed closely by his mare. Though she was sure she had imagined it, she could have almost sworn she had seen Epona give her a look as they passed by. Something that caused a pang of jealousy within Zelda. Was that horse really so intelligent? Deciding the thought was foolish, she carefully took the stallion's reins back into her hand. When the horse didn't rebel, she gently tugged and began to guide him up the road alongside Link and Epona.
Are you going to put my old bridle on him? As much as I'd like to have it, isn't it a tad bit elegant? It would go against us trying to hide me from the eager, yes?
Before Link answered, he took a moment to glance down at the bridle he had on his shoulder, a feat Zelda found impressive with how heavy those leathers were.
We can meet in the middle. I'd have to take the ornaments off of it, but if you're okay with just the leathers, that should be fine enough. How's that?
That would be wonderful. Glad to know I can use some of my old possessions.
I'll get it ready in the morning then.
Link smiled, taking the bridle off his shoulder and returning it into the slate's inventory.
Here, I can put those arrows you're holding away. Unless you prefer to keep carrying them.
Rolling her eyes, Zelda gestured for him to take them, freeing her arm as the arrows also vanished in a flash.
By the way, what had you shopping for arrows this late? Usually you'd have all that done in the morning or afternoon. Are you getting nervous?
I wouldn't say I'm nervous. I just want to assure myself of our preparation.
With thoughtful eyes, she glanced over at the display houses they were walking past.
Tomorrow is the day. We finally start our quest to discover why malice is still corrupting our lands. I know we're just starting out, but I wish we had a better starting point. All we have to go off of is the monk's guidance, which vaguely states we should head to the divine beasts. In the grand scheme of things, that isn't much to work with. We haven't even come to a decision on which beast to visit first.
Actually, I might have an answer for that now.
Link reached into one of his pouches, and after a bit of rustling, he pulled out a folded piece of parchment.
Funnily enough, I ran into a friend of mine at the stable, and she had just returned from Zora's domain. Turns out, she was on her way to visit Hateno in order to drop this off to me.
He held the note out to her, which Zelda took. Coming to a stop, now standing in the middle of the wooden bridge that led to their cliffside home, she released Storm's reins and unfolded the parchment to read.
This is from Prince Sidon. I hadn't really thought about it, but he's truly an adult now, isn't he?
Curiously, Zelda's eyes scanned the writing.
He and King Dorephan are summoning you to the domain.
They are. I'm sure they have questions about what happened that day we defeated the Calamity. From theirs and every other region's perspective, all they saw was the Divine Beast's fire at the castle. But there's even more down below.
The Divine Beast isn't functioning.
It sounds like after the attack, Varuta just stopped working. Which is weird. Maybe that's why the monks are sending us there.
But why would a Divine Beast send a signal if it's non-operational? Interesting. Regardless, it's the only and best lead we have at the moment. We'll go and investigate the situation.
After refolding the note and handing it back to Link, Zelda turned and faced the landscape of Hyrule, still bathed in the golden glow of twilight.
Mipha's father. I'm sure he'll want to discuss his daughter when he finds me alive and well.
I wouldn't be surprised. He won't blame you, though. In fact, I think he'll be happy to see you. He was when he saw me alive.
I hope that's true.
It is. I promise.
I believe you.
With a frown, she looked down and brought a hand to her chest.
Knowing King Dorephan, I believe he would like to hear more about her. The least I can do is visit him and offer him some closure.
Is that something you'll be able to handle?
I'll have to. I may still be unsure of where I am with their absence mentally, but if I can't handle a discussion regarding those losses, how am I supposed to progress with anything else?
With a deep breath, she opened her eyes and looked over the landscape again.
Although Ganon is gone for now, there is still so much more for us to do, and even more painful memories we must bear beyond the champion's death. But if we're going to solve why Malice is still in Hyrule, then we must confront it all.
She took a step forward toward the edge of the bridge.
I do want to rebuild Hyrule. Impa and I discussed how I didn't necessarily need to take the throne once again. And while I don't intend to take it immediately, I can't help but feel there will come a time in the future when I must. I simply can't leave Hyrule, my kingdom, my home, in the state that it's in. I believe in my heart that if we work together, we can restore Hyrule to its former glory. Perhaps even beyond.
She placed her hands behind her back.
Link, you can still hear the voice inside the sword. Isn't that right?
Zelda could hear Link hesitate behind her, clearly surprised to find she had managed to put it together. After a moment, she received a grunt in confirmation. Without looking back, she closed her eyes and nodded.
I assumed that was the case. As for me, I still can no longer hear the voice inside the sword. I suppose it would make sense, seeing as my powers seem to have dwindled over the past 100 years.
Finally, she turned around to face him, and just as she thought, a look of concern had spread across Link's face. It was a reaction she knew would come if she had brought up her powers. So, to put his worries at ease, she gave him a soft smile.
Despite that, and me not being a princess anymore, and you not officially being my appointed knight, will you still walk alongside me?
Unsurprisingly, Link seemed caught off guard by her sudden request, his eyes slightly widening as they stayed locked onto her own. After a moment to recover, he gave her a small smile of his own, placed a hand over his heart, closed his eyes, and slightly bowed his head.
Of course, Zelda. Forgive me, but I was going to stick around regardless.
There's no need to bow. That ruins the point of me not having a title.
Link shook his head.
Let me at least do this. Whether you're the descendant of the goddess, the princess, or just some girl in this new era you found yourself in, one thing remains the same. You saved me and watched over me. I will always be at your side. Zelda's side.
You still make it sound like you're following me when in truth I'm the one following you. I simply hope I can keep up with you out there.
Link chuckled, rising from his bow.
You will be able to. Not that I'd leave you behind. It'll be hard, don't get me wrong, but you have all the tools you need. Well, almost.
Almost?
Reaching down, Link took the Sheikah slate off his belt once more and began searching through its contents.
There's one more thing you'll need. I had to make it from scratch, so I didn't have time to teach you during our time here. We'll have to give you some lessons on the way, but...
With a final tap on the slate's surface, a large flash of light shone between them. Zelda winced at the light, only able to see what had appeared once it dimmed. Her eyes widened once they landed on the item now in Link's hands.
Dun 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 dun. Here you are, Zelda.
In Link's grasp was a paraglider. one built just like his own. Still trying to find the words, Zelda reached out and took it from him.
A paraglider? This is the project you've been working on all this time, making me a paraglider.
Yeah. This'll save you in case you ever fall from high up, and it'll help travel some long distances if need be. I hope you like it.
Of course I do. Link, I adore this. I didn't even know you knew how to make something like this.
It turns out I have a knack for woodworking. I also had a bit of help from Bolson. He checked it over and made adjustments, so it's ready to be used. I should be able to teach you how to use it sometime soon.
Actually, believe it or not, I know how to use a paraglider.
With a small smile, Zelda twisted the glider between her hands. Link furrowed his brow in question at her reply, something Zelda noticed.
My father taught me when I was young. Before my mother died, that is.
His Majesty taught you? Did you ever tell me that? Is this something I've forgotten?
No, I don't believe I've ever mentioned it. My relationship with my father was strained for the majority of the time you were appointed to me. It never seemed necessary to bring it up. I doubt you would have let me paraglide on our travels back then, lest I returned to my father with a broken arm under your watch, despite the low chances. Honestly, those lessons he gave me are some of the last true happy memories I have with him before my mother died. This...
Looking up from the paraglider, she met Link's eyes again.
Thank you.
Awkwardly, Link returned her smile. Zelda couldn't help but notice the light blush on his cheeks, a redness even the amber glow of twilight couldn't cover.
Yeah, no problem. And you're sure you remember how to use it? You don't think it's been too long?
Not at all. I remember that day as if it were yesterday. We should probably finish our journey across the bridge into the house. It's getting late and we leave early tomorrow. We must make certain we're prepared.
Carrying the paraglider, Zelda continued her trek along the bridge, leaving the horses for Link to board as she thought back to the day her father had taught her how to glide.
Food, clothing, wood and flint. I believe we're set.
With a sigh, she allowed the Sheikah slate's front to darken as she laid it on the writing desk. Leaning back in her chair, she looked at the large window near the staircase, watching tiny particles of dust dance in the morning rays of light that shone through the glass panes. Standing from her chair and leaving the slate behind, she walked across the loft to the window and placed her palm on the glass as she glanced out into the front yard. Outside, she could see Link preparing their horses for the journey ahead, specifically saddling her horse with the purple-leathered bridle that had been cleared of its ornaments. It was almost time to leave. Pulling away from the window, she placed her hands behind her and leaned her back against the windowsill, staring out over the little house she had been living in since she had been freed from her self-imprisonment. She stared at the bed she and Link had been sleeping in, ending each night and starting each morning together. Her eyes then trailed to the dresser next to it that now held some of her clothes, both old and new, before landing next on the writing desk, which still had the Sheikah slate sitting and waiting for her. That was where she would prepare for the days of training, braiding her hair and stretching her arms and legs out. Finally, she glanced downstairs toward the kitchen and dining room, where clean dishes and silverware set the table, with flowers blooming in a small vase in the center. It was where Link would make all their meals, with Zelda attempting to help, before having their meals surrounded by the memories of their fallen allies. A smile crept onto her face as she looked over the house. This had truly become a place she could call home. No, it was her home. Her and Link's home. Suddenly, the front door downstairs opened and the home's second owner walked inside.
Hey, I've got the horses all saddled up.
He looked around the dining room before spotting Zelda standing against the window at the top of the staircase.
Are you ready to go?
Just about. I'm just giving this place one last look before we leave.
It's not like we aren't coming back.
Stepping toward the staircase, Link leaned against the railing. He placed a foot on the first step.
We'll come back at some point.
You may be used to leaving, but I'm not.
What do you mean? We used to leave the castle all the time.
That may be true, but this feels different. This place is more homely to me than my bedroom at the castle. I just feel attached is all. But you're right, it's time to be off.
Pushing herself off the windowsill, she grabbed the Sheikah slate from the writing desk and met Link down the stairs. Stepping aside to let her onto the ground floor, he opened the front door behind him and gestured to the outdoors. With a smile, Zelda nodded in appreciation, But before she could step out, she turned and faced the house's interior one last time, her eyes finding the weapons hanging from the racks on the back wall. Noticing her gaze, Link turned to see where she was looking, only to find himself staring as well.
Let's show them their efforts and sacrifices weren't in vain.
Right.
After a few more moments to take in the sight, Zelda stepped into the grass outside, followed shortly by Link, who closed the door behind them. It wasn't long before the two of them were in their saddles, having only taken an extra few minutes for Link to ensure Zelda's was fitted properly now that she was sitting in it. In due time, the chestnut mare and the white stallion clopped at each other's side as they carried their riders across the bridge and away from the cliffside.
It's been some time since you've been in your own saddle, hasn't it? How does it feel?
It hasn't been that long. To me, it's only been a little over a month. Truthfully, it isn't much different than when I rode with you to Kakariko or here to Hateno.
Her cheeks flushed slightly, remembering the feeling of her back pressed against his chest. Maybe it was a little different. In an attempt to hide her blush, she turned her head and glanced toward the mountains of Necluda. She focused on the vibrations of hooves against the wooden bridge beneath them, noticing the transition from wood to grass, the swaying of the saddle between her legs, and the ever-so-slight jolts of her stallion against the reins.
But I suppose it is nice to have my own steed again. Though I do still miss this one's ancestor. I hope this one and I soon get along just like we did.
Link chuckled, a small laugh that was overshadowed by a much louder and more musical one.
Well, well. Leaving so soon after arriving?
Both looked over to see the carpenter they had gotten to know so well during their stay, standing in front of one of the display houses they were now riding past. Link gently tugged on Epona's reins and pulled her to a stop, mimicked by Zelda and her stallion.
We are, Bolson, and we probably won't be back for some time.
Bolson elegantly stroked his beard with an exaggerated frown.
I see. Ah, what a shame. I'd hoped to see your bud bloom a little more before leaving, but who am I to stop the natural flow of love?
Bolson.
Though Link groaned, Zelda giggled. Before Link could continue, Bolson raised a hand.
No need for goodbyes. We'll see each other once again, and I expect to see great progress between you two. I want to see the petals of love dancing around you both.
Though Link sighed, Bolson happily clapped his hands together.
Wonderful, yes. Now then, if you two are leaving, I suppose this means I can reclaim my spot near the cliffside.
He cheerfully turned toward the display house door. Bringing a hand up, he called out to whoever was inside.
Do you hear that, Carson? Our spot is free to use again.
This caused Zelda's giggling to stop, but Carson had already appeared from inside the display house with glee. Before she could voice her disapproval, the two had already begun walking back toward the cliffside home.
Well, you two best be on your way. Don't let us hold you up. I wish you and Marin the best of luck on your journey. And remember what I said I want to see between you two. Blossoms. Toodaloo!
The moment the carpenters were out of range, Zelda immediately turned to Link.
Link?
If you want me to somehow stop them at this very moment, I'm sorry, but that's a battle I just can't win. We'll have to deal with it when we get back. Thankfully, that won't be for a while, right?
Unable to come up with a counter, Zelda admitted defeat. Link wasn't wrong. At least they wouldn't have to deal with it for some time. She just had to hope it wouldn't be as much of a challenge to handle it when they returned, whenever that may be. Lightly tapping their horses' sides with the heels of their boots, they continued their slow ride down the path, where they reached the fork in the road. Unfortunately for Link, there was another person they had run into, the same person he had first encountered when he and Zelda had arrived in Hateno.
So, you're leaving again, huh?
Yes, we are, Manny. Sorry to disappoint.
Again, Link tugged Epona to a stop, but this time gestured for Zelda to continue toward the village gate without him. Though Zelda gave him a curious look, she and her stallion clopped ahead, leaving Link alone with Manny.
I hope you aren't intending to ask me for crickets again, because I don't have any.
Manny crossed his arms.
I'm not, though it would be a big help. I can just tell when you're about to leave. You were gone most of yesterday. And looks like you're taking your lady with you.
Manny.
You never gave me an answer on who she is to you before. I see her jogging around town and shopping, but I'm too scared to say hello because you threatened me. I just want to meet her. It's not like I'm trying to steal her away from you, I just want to see why she likes you so much.
Link rolled his eyes.
Okay. Well, I think you have the wrong idea about us, for one. Second, I doubt talking to her will help you with Prima. Actually, I can just promise you it won't.
Ugh, you're really no help, Link. I don't understand how you went from helping me with crickets to being so not helpful. I guess I'll just have to ask again when you get back. Maybe you'll be in a better mood then. You can't keep her to yourself all the time. A lady's advice could really help me out.
Then you can try again next time, Manny. Look, she's waiting for me, so I have to go. You do your best to stay out of trouble with Prima, alright?
Yeah, whatever you say, Link.
Shaking his head, he tapped Epona's side and guided his mare toward the village gate, where Zelda sat on her steed waiting for him.
Is everything all right? I've seen that man around town before, but I've never gotten a chance to speak with him. Did he need something from us?
Nothing important. If it was, I'd tell you. We have bigger things to worry about.
I see. All right then.
She must have noticed the slight look of annoyance in Link's features, for she didn't press any further. Instead, she looked out toward the mountains again, where the winding dirt path stood before them.
Okay. Shall we be off?
When Link nodded, Zelda eagerly tapped her heel against her stallion's side, beginning her journey down the mountain. The knight, however, didn't immediately follow. He took one last glance over his shoulder at the silent, purple-winged sword on his back. After a few moments, he took a deep breath and tapped Epona's side again, signaling her to start clopping after Zelda. Their new adventure had finally begun.